Hey, 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 social media family, being of any subscribers and our businesses alike, to that being of my own social media channel as we have it here for YouTube. I said YouTube, I didn't say YouTube, regardless of how certain persons compared to others think that the majority of most social media channels or networks or websites, well, social media websites are, you know, owned by the white Jewish, social media websites, communications, electronic frequency transmissions. I wasn't trying to become or be racist, but then that is like a topic of discussion, being of which I would have to debate in the future in its own right, you know, to become or be a subject matter or social media content for a video to be considered to contemplate composing or producing or broadcasting, whatever I would say, to go about a Q&A session to get the many different views and opinions to comment and giving one's own perspective upon that being of the same of the said in question and of the former prior mentioned, and moving right along. Whereas that being the present social media content of a topic of discussion, a subject matter of a given argument with the many different views and opinions to be possibly affiliated or associated with and are representing thereof, and do excuse Mr. or Miss Pop-Up, depending on whichever one's gender is, as you all know. Certain visitors to my own social media channel, and speaking upon those, I say those or this matter, those matters or this matter. Excuse, pardon, or forgive me for butchering the English language, not just practically, but possibly for the umpteenth consecutive time. I never claimed to have become or be an English major, and how much less than an English professor. Oh, that thought. But anyway, though, as I think of it with that in my mind's intention to try to backtrack here, with reasons and or purposes being, in order so that I could go on with the following to continue from where and when that my person or person being of I myself had last left off, so I can finish up as and complete a former previous or prior line of thought in the same sense of word before I get on with the original subject matter or topic of discussion to be debated for that of some or such a given moment in time, for the present, that is. Then, as you all know, well, you got on enough t-shirts? Well, some of you all think that don't need many layers of clothing for this time of year as we have it for a season. Anything we need to take off more clothing. and to put on ourselves more of some such clothes for a different season, totally different weather temps. But anyway, as you all know, so I say, before I were to get to the original subject matter, topic of discussion, or a given argument to complement that of the name title to some as such. But then, as you all know, certain characters of visitors, then of whom I call pop-up characters of internet trolls, or pop-up visitors in that same line of thought in a sense word, they tend to, and as they be among the visitors, they tend to pop on my own social media channel for YouTube, on my own YouTube social media channel, literally and actually for a few seconds, and then just as quick they'll pop out. And that is showing total disrespect for my own this as it is being of some sort for my own domain, and I don't appreciate that. And whereas I wish they would, show themselves in my chat room, comment section, or whatever I've said, and by saying something stupid and sick, so that from there I could silence their chat and then block them from my own YouTube social media channel, likewise chat room, comment section. But anyway, though, getting back to some such other as I was about to speak upon before I was so rudely interrupted by a Mr. or Miss pop-up, depending on whichever one's gender is for an internet troll character. Yes. Moving right along. And whereas I was about to say or do so now. Whereas the present social media content of a broadcast video is having to do with, or is regarding, or so far as concerned, or making reference to, and as it would complement the name title to that being the same, that's the name title said in question, is making reference to the likes of, not all, but certain members of our own American or U.S. law enforcement community who are, misbehaving as if they are above the law, as they commit criminally illegal, civil, and human rights violation offenses against Mexican immigrant children, and one of the, not just much more, but one of the most heinous of hate crimes, being of which would complement and or constitute sexual assault, rape, or molestation, as they come off like overgrown pervs to do so, to misuse and or abuse children being of that nature or of that ethnicity among the non-whites or non-Caucasians. And whereas it had been placed upon my heart and mind to do this present social media broadcast content for this one particular video, as a matter of fact, I dreamed about it. I kid you not. I think that God had placed it on my heart and mind before I heard the news broadcast of this happening, I know there are other news headline stories being in which I could go about doing an expose on or report, but then all that other stuff, it's like old hat, pardon the pun, none was intended, and no offense or disrespect meant to any victims of the likes of persons of interest of crazies, lunatics, maniacs, sickos, or psychos, otherwise. But I mean, unless I'm getting paid to report the other hate crimes, I really don't care to go about doing an expose on some such for my own views and opinions, perspective, because we are hearing it much too often, from drive-bys to whatever else for that matter. So this one, a hate crime in its own right, is dealing with children of foreigners among the non-whites. And whereas I just heard it today, and I had given you all the source of my information, the source of resource. You can, research it yourself, or whatever I said. And as it is one among some such sources or resources of information, and this one particular is from WBBM News Station Channel, being as it is for, WBBM. Let me see, WBBM News Station Channel 78 or 780 upon the AM dial. And where I'm like, what in the world? Are you serious? I mean, certain American, not all, but certain American or U.S. police officers at our own countries or nations' border that is separating our own supposed so-called democratic republic or democracy from that foreign country or nation, regardless of whether it's a democracy or democratic republic supposedly, or a dictatorship in its own right. But then it is more closer to being considered as a dictatorship if there is an incredible fact that Mexican drug cartel lords run that particular country or nation across from our own border. But it's disgusting, and getting back to some of such other, to hear that certain members of our own American or U.S. law enforcement community are, taking indecent liberties with underage minors, being a Mexican immigrant children. As I'm hearing this, some of them are from Chicago, Illinois, where I'm at, in the Midwest here, for the USA, for the Bible Belt. I'm like saying, are you freaking kidding me? Why would you do that if you're supposed to have taken a civic oath to serve and protect the general public or the people at large, of American citizens and all foreigners alike, of immigrants for that matter. That's disgusting. I mean, you would really have to be some kind of a really deviant, depraved, or perverted individual person, or a grown-up or adult, to take indecent liberties with a child, a kid, in an intimate, sensual, or sexual kind of way. You know, you would really have to be some kind of a pervert who is going the extra mile. You know, not to mention a really sick individual person of a character, of a person interested to do that. You know, it just gets needs reflecting upon this one reality television show. I know some, if not all of you, have seen it before, and whereas the host of it is supposed to be a one Mr. Chris Hansen, and whereas it is supposed to go by the name, let me see if I have this correct, To Catch a Predator, you know, and as it is regarding making reference to how he with his crew would do a sting upon the likes of some of such the not just the more but the most notorious uh riff-raff, being of the rank and file of the criminal elements, being of whom are of the likes of the sexual predator animal monsters. And unfortunately, as they go stoop to an even greater or more deviant or depraved or perverted level, uh, sexuality, by going a step further than to just, you know, attempt to sexually assault or rape grown adult woman, as in attempt to mess with in a freaky kind of way with underage minors, of children, of boys and girls alike, of whatever races and of whatever walks of life, factions of society, or lifestyle preferences. As I said, you would really have to be a really sick person to go there, you know. I mean, that just get me to think, what would possess a person of a grown up, of an adult, to attempt to take advantage of a child, an underage minor, regardless, be one being one's prey of a victim, would be a girl or a boy, you know. I mean, you would have to really have some kind sort or type of a really monstrous demon in you. You would really have to be monstrously demon possessed to do that, you know. I mean, disgusting. I mean, I dreamed about this here, like God was bringing it to my heart and mind to do that of an expose on it, to do this present social media content of a broadcast video, you know. As I'm dreaming, you know, they're like an animal monster of an overgrown perv of an adult forcing an underage minor to engage in foreplay and sexual intercourse with one. You know, whereas I dreamed that the overgrown perv of a grown up is like holding down an underage minor of a child and getting on top of one and then spreading one's legs and then attempting to insert one's you know what as a grown up, that of a grown up as oneself is into an underage mind of a child's what you would call it, or of you know what otherwise. And whereas the underage mind of a child is like not only saying something along the line of thought and saying sense of the word, please don't do this to me. I'm only a child, please don't. And then one is crying, but the overgrown perv, grown up, is ignoring the child's pleas for mercy, you know. it just get me to thinking about this one urban legend horror story. I'm urban nature in that same similar sense of the word. I think I had informed you all's person or told your person among yourselves about this here. Whereas this was a news headline story back in the day, but unfortunately I didn't, do follow up on it. So I can only tell you so much about what had happened, but I cannot tell you, you know, what had become or what more than likely more often than not if the criminal riffraff of a sexual predator was caught and what would be the serious consequences for his actions of him taking liberties with an underage minor as in having molested a child. But one thing I can say is that, and as I paraphrase, but not quote exactly, so this overgrown perv, he caught this here underage minor representing the opposite sex of a young female, and it don't matter whether she was an adolescent, teenager, or worse yet, a preteen child. But anyway, he caught her as she was trying to, make her way on to school, even before the birds would get up and do their beautiful chirping sound music number. You know, chirping sound music song number, that is. I did say I wasn't an English major, how much less an English professor. My own adopted tongue of the American dialect. But anyway, getting back to some such. And likewise, before the school crossing guards will get out there for that matter, or even before the birds were to tweet, tweet, tweet. And, where this overgrown perv of a male, of a grown adult man, he was scoping her at a distance, and then he moved in for the kill to close the gap between he himself and his victim being of an underage female minor representing the opposite sex. And he come at her in the most effective way that any rapist, or worse yet, pedophile could possibly come at one's prey of a victim, being a which is from behind and back of one. And then he grabbed her, and this was in the dead of winter some years ago. And he pulled her down to the ground. And he was supposed to have beaten the crap out of her, beaten her within an inch of her life. Supposedly beaten her where she becomes semi-conscious or was put in a coma. I cannot remember. Anyway, though, where he's supposed to have given her a black eye, a bloody nose, a fat lip, a broken jaw, a couple few cracked ribs, and then some, and made her partially a paraplegic and all. And then while she's like knocked out and like crumpled up like a piece of paper in the dead of winter in the street somewhere on the sidewalk, be it a city or suburban sidewalk, whereas he took advantage of her. He got on top of her between her legs and just got the bushwhacking and got jiggy with it. And when she was found, she was half naked or semi-nude, and her private parts of her crotch area was exposed. And she was left for dead. Unfortunately, I didn't keep track of that news headline story, so I cannot give you any follow up as to, and hopefully that monster animal of an overgrown perv of a male of a man would have to suffer the serious consequences of his actions. Hopefully he would have got his just dessert for taking advantage of a child like that in an intimate, sensual, sexual way. But anyway, though, you have these here, American or U.S. police officers, cops at our nation's border, south and for the stretch going east and west for that then which separates us from the country or foreign nation of Mexico, where they're taking advantage of young Mexican children of underage minors, you know, in an intimate, sensual, or sexual way when they're supposed to serve and protect. They're supposed to come off like the real life Superman, Then to do some such other way. But then I did another social media broadcast, a video much earlier upon this particular comic book character, as you all know. Yeah. I mean, these characters, they need to have their head examined. But then getting back to some stuff so far as that one TV show I mentioned, and as the last would compliment it, of a line of thought. So this TV show, a reality TV show program, television program, or whatever I was called, To Catch a Predator, hosted by Chris Hansen, whereas he would working with some of such others trick them into going to a certain whereas they would have set it up, whereas the predator who preys on children would be like scheduling an appointment with a child to get freaky or get jiggy with it with a child, and only to find out that once one were to get to the address location where one is supposed to meet up with a child, it would be Chris Hansen they would be greeting, and then he would grill them with a number of questions, like, why are you as a grown adult person attempting to engage in foreplay and sexual intercourse with the underage minor of a child? I mean, why would you want to do that? I mean, don't you think that's rather abnormal, etc.? Hold that thought, you all. Yeah, keep coming back, Mr. or Miss Pop-Up. I wish you would show some respect for my social media channel than just pop in and pop out for a time frame period of a couple or few seconds. Pops out just as quick as one pops in for a couple few seconds, and it could be some of anybody and everybody, of an internet show. It could be some of my past and present proverbial neighbors from damn hell, for that matter, of character. But anyway, getting back to some of such others before I was so rudely interrupted. As I was saying, I rest my case. So Chris Hansen would say, in more words or less, so I paraphrase my quote. I mean, why would you do that? I mean, don't you think that's rather abnormal or perverted for a grown adult person to want to engage in foreplay and sexual intercourse with an underage minor of a child, not to mention criminal in nature? I mean, what did you have in mind? What was your mindset to do with this kid that you had wished or hoped to meet up with? And then whereas the overgrown perv would say something like, "Oh no, I wasn't thinking about doing anything with this child or kid. I was just going to tell one that wants to be careful who one could possibly meet online and try to get together with." Oh, so it's the child's fault, The child is at fault, supposedly, for wanting to get together with you. Is that what you're saying? Oh no, I wasn't meaning it that way. It just come out the wrong way. Well, I mean, and you'd be surprised how a host of characters would be some of such persons you wouldn't expect to carry on like that, misbehave, to contemplate committing a hate crime against an underage minor of a child, of a girl or boy. I say there was a police officer on one episode, and then there was a Jewish rabbi on another one. Said, I mean, really not. Oh no, I wasn't. I was going to tell the child, why would you want to agree to meet up with a grown up? There's a lot of weirdos out here. Whereas if anything, you should just, try to you know, get you some other kind of pastime, you know, because you don't know if a grown up could be a real perv or could want to harm you in some kind of way, you know. That's all I was going to tell the child. Really now. And yet you're here. You're here. Why couldn't you just tell that to the child over the phone? Why you have to meet up with the child in person? Don't you think that is kind of weird or abnormal? I mean, why couldn't you just get with the child's parent and discuss matters? Why do you have to present yourself onto the child and show up in person to try to discuss matters? Don't you think that's kind of weird looking? Don't you think that would seem peculiar and bring attention to yourself? I mean, don't you think you would be suspected of having some kind of ulterior motive otherwise, or some kind of selfish kind of mindset? Like you have something rather, how should I put it? Something rather treacherous or diabolical that could come to mind that you would think to do to a child. Don't you think that would be of suspicion, or you know, your average individual person would suspect that to have become be the case of situation? Oh no, I wasn't going to do anything with the child. Honestly, you know, I was just going to you know, give the child a word of advice or suggest, you know, something that will benefit or be in one's better interest, you know. And yet you're here. Is this in your better interest? Why would you actually, you know, that is transform your thoughts into efforts, that's your mental thoughts into physical action to meet with a child? Why couldn't you just talk to the child over the phone? And if you were trying to play the part of Good Samaritan, you know, and why not talk to the child's parent for that matter? Discuss some such with, you know, then I mean, don't you think that looks rather odd? Well, I suppose, but really, I wasn't going to, you know. Can I use the washroom? I'm feeling uncomfortable. You have to use the washroom? I don't know. Do we have a washroom around here that this perv can use? You know, you could use a washroom elsewhere. Oh yeah, where about? Oh, like say in a jail house facility. Oh no! What are you saying? You know, I'm feeling kind of dehydrated. I need some water. And then I'm feeling kind of sweaty. Could I just go outside for a minute? Oh, there's a fan around here somewhere. No, I'm gonna go outside. That's okay. Sir, could you please sit back down? No, I'm just gonna leave. Sir, if you go out that door, you're gonna have a host police officers, cops, to escort you elsewhere much sooner. Now I'm trying to get down to the nitty gritty of why would you want to meet up with a child in a way that would seem suspicious. I mean, it looks odd. It would more than seem to have become or be an abnormal kind of case or situation that brings you into a bad what you call it. I mean, help me shed some light on this here, will you? That's the least you can do to try to clear yourself. You do want to clear your name and so forth. Well, yeah, I already feel uncomfortable. I'm just gonna step outside. Freeze on the ground! Get on the ground! Freeze! Freeze! Get on the ground! Anyway, though, I'm about to conclude this here present social media broadcast and video. I just thought to bring it to your minds to think that certain members of our own American or U.S. law enforcement community See, as the police officers, cops, or something say. I should read detectives for that now, military. So. But anyway, I just thought to bring that to your minds, to let you all know what's happening, what has been placed on my heart and mind to, to report as an unlicensed amateur news reporter, news correspondent, news journalist, I don't know. And on this last note of interest, I would like to say, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now, while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing and realizing what he himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of some set of Roman soldiers, up under orders of their superiors, being religious, political, military, etc. nature. Whereas he was crucified between two thieves at the hands of Roman soldiers. On the cross of Calvary, to fulfill biblical prophecy, to become that perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as me. Don't steal my trademark gesture. So that if any of us been on whatever race and whatever walks of life, fashion, society, lifestyle preferences, been an old, young alike, or both two sexual genders, males and females, representing not only the human species, but then, nevertheless, the global community within this post 911 era, but new one in the apocalyptic day and age, where the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes of midnight compared on to our former period prior to then. It was at a quarter midnight for these rather biblically prophetic times, where the professed some of such faith in him. From there, we become to be blessed in one regard or another, more ways than one. First and foremost, with his salvation, in which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly become citizens of the kingdom of heaven. And second of all, with his deliverance. But first, you have got to get his salvation. Not just the more important, but the most important blessing. Otherwise, you have nothing coming so far as blessing is concerned. If you make that transition for the great beyond the hereafter, and your final destination will be the lake of fire down hell, to burn for all eternity and be tortured forever by the devil and the demons, among the other unsaved, lost down human souls and unbelievers. And unbelievers compared to how we as believers in God will be across a great divide that separates heaven from hell, and in the company of like-minded believers as in Christians and or Protestants, and in the presence of God as angels otherwise. You all take care and be safe, be blessed, not stressed, and I will holler at you later. Until then, we out. Peace.